And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Hello, RBLR Nation. Welcome to the Bucs podcast. Hope you're having a wonderful evening or afternoon, wherever you're listening or whenever you're listening to this podcast. With me, I've got two excellent co-hosts. First, I'd like to introduce you to a regular on the show, my boy Santiago. Santiago, say hello to RBLR Nation.
What's up, Carter? How you doing? What's up, RBLR Nation? I'm ready here to talk some Bucs football. Super excited. Can't wait. Football's around the corner. Let's go, baby. Let's go, Bucs.
All right. I'm loving the energy as usual, Santiago. As well as Santiago, we've also got a special guest today from the RBLR Rays podcast, as well as the Bandits. It's your boy, Zach Blaine. Zach, say what's up to the people.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? How y'all doing today?
Oh, we're doing well, living lavish as usual. How about yourself, Zach? How you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling good, man. I'm ready for football. Excited to talk football with you guys. Obviously huge fan of the show considering I'm a part of RBLR, but even aside from that, you guys run a great show. I'm excited to be on it.
Oh, well, we appreciate that. And we're happy to have you along with us, as well as we are also happy to have our listeners with us. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in. And let's just get right to it. So we're going to be talking about some position battles today. Training camp's gotten started. The preseason's right around the corner. I don't know about y'all, but I'm really excited for this football season to start back up again. Preseason football, it starts tonight. If you're listening to it, it's Thursday. Yeah, hell yeah. So we're going to start with the wide receiver position because, man, it's a really interesting one. It's a crowded room right now. So how are y'all feeling about the wide receiver room? You think there's anybody that you think is going to get cut? Any surprises? How are we feeling about it?
Well, we are loaded pretty much, with the wide receiver position. Pretty much we already know, in my mind, we already know who we're going to keep, like Mike Evans, Russell Gage, Chris Godwin, just to name a few. Obviously, can we have some of our wide receivers go? Yeah. It's very competitive out there. So, obviously I want the best wide receivers to stay with the organization, of course. I know they're grinding it out there in the heat and the humidity out at One Buck Place over there. And but I don't know, man. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough to see who's going to be left off of this roster when they make the cut. What do you think, Carter? I mean, who do you think out of the wide receivers that we have right now, who do you think is really fighting for their position right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, especially because the recent Julio Jones signing, like you mentioned, they have the core four of Julio, Russell, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin, but the rest kind of up for grabs. I think Jalen Darden's going to be gone. I don't really see him sticking around. I think Rashard Perriman earns his spot. They re-signed him to a one-year deal. They wouldn't have done that for no reason. So I think Rashard Perriman takes up that fifth spot. And then the sixth spot, I mean, Scotty Miller, I think he would take it. But, Cyril Grayson emerged last season at the end of the year. Tyler Johnson's obviously a third-round pick, so it's really up in the air. But, Zach, how are you feeling about it? How do you think the Julio Jones signing impacts this wide receiver group? You got any favorites to be cut? How are you feeling?
Yeah, so I have to disagree with you a little bit on the Darden, the Jalen Darden situation. Everything I'm reading is saying that he's taken a huge leap this year. And keep in mind, it's just his second year. And Cyril Grayson has been, from the notes that I looked up, obviously, it's saying that he's kind of absent from camp. I mean, he's there, but not much is happening for him. But I do think that Darden brings a almost elite level special teams ability. So I'm going to give him my fifth spot. And the top four, I mean, like you said, I think that those top four are essentially locked at this point. I think Julio Jones, Brady wants to play with Julio Jones, I feel like. So I don't think there's a chance he leaves the team. And Evans and Godwin are just, they're going to be Bucs for life, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel you. Like, Darden's definitely, like you said, he's making a huge jump with a special teams play. But, man, there were just times last year when he was having a tough time. For the preseason, really going to be interesting to watch. Yeah, I mean, this wide receiver group, it's definitely the most contentious position, I think, for the Bucs, just for those final two spots. How are we feeling about Brashard Perriman, Zach? You think he's kind of on the cusp? You think he gets cut? How are we feeling about him?
He is a guy. I mean, he's got 7 years experience. He's got like 2,200 yards in his career. With that being said, he's been clutch for Tampa in the times that he's played, and I agree that he is someone that they wouldn't have signed for no reason. And the kids in the background agree. I think he's gonna be around too. I think that it comes down to kind of, as much as I hate to admit it, Scotty Miller. He's a guy that might not make it.
Oh man, Scooter Scotty, that's a tough one to omit. I feel you though. Like he kind of took a step back last year in my opinion. He looks tough
Exactly.
because yeah, exactly with the Godwin injury, like he kind of had to step up and he kind of didn't. And Brashard Perriman kind of did. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. And it's tough because he had that, a legendary catch in that NFC Championship game. So nostalgically speaking, and my heart tells me, oh, I want Scotty to stay, but oh man, it's kind of like the Brett Phillips DFA recently
Yeah,
with the Rays.
I was just gonna
Yeah.
bring that up. You look at it and
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
you look at it and he's got that one play and you're like, oh my God, he could be that guy. And that's what, as a Rays podcaster, obviously, that's what Brett Phillips was to us. Brett Phillips, one of my favorite players to ever play on the Rays. And you see him have like these really great moments, but then he bats 178. And it's like, what else has Scotty done aside from that one catch? And it just kind of, as much as I love him, I just don't think that he's that guy.
Yeah, I'm with you, Santiago. How do you feel about it? How you feeling about Scotty Miller, Brashard Perriman?
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree with what Zach just said. With Scotty Miller, that famous touchdown versus Green Bay in the championship game up there in Lambeau, the most historic stadium in the NFL. Vince Lombardi. Yeah, no, that's the reason why that trophy's named, because of his legendary status. But yeah, man, like that's pretty much what every Buck fan, Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan is going to remember of him. Other than that, like last year, man, I didn't see really much. A lot from him. He was like really missing. But you have to, if he's grinding it out there in practice and really putting heart into it, like, maybe he can keep a spot. It really depends. It just, and plus, they're professional football players, man. They're getting paid a lot of money. They got to put their careers and lives on the line over there, and they really got to work hard. And I know they're going to do that, but I just I want somebody, if an injury happens, and definitely we don't want any injuries to occur, but I want there to be enough weapons that Brady can throw at, because that's something that we struggled last year at the end when Chris Godwin was injured, that with this ACL tear. So yeah, man. But I'm very happy that we've got Julio Jones, Russell Gage, Chris Godwin. It's just Mike Evans. Man, it's just a legendary group of wide receivers that we got out there. Very, very dangerous. So I'm super stoked and can't wait for this season to start.
I'm with you there, Santiago. I am certainly with you there. It's, in my humble opinion, in this humble podcaster's opinion, I think the Bucs might have the best wide receiver group in the NFL. I mean, it's pretty tough to beat Evans, Godwin, Jones, and Gage. I mean, they're going to be running a lot of 4 wide receiver sets, and a lot of secondaries are going to be ripped to shreds, especially when you got, the GOAT Tom Brady at the helm slinging it around. So, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely really excited. Y'all got any final thoughts on this receiver group? Any real lasting impressions about him, Zach, Santiago?
Yeah, so my thought is, and I don't know, I haven't been as up to date with Buccaneers news as I probably should be. Have we heard anything about Godwin as far as when he's coming back yet? Is he going to be healthy, or
So,
do we know?
yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So, from what I've read, he's on track. They're expecting him to maybe be ready by the first couple of weeks of the season, from what I've read. I thought at first maybe the Julio Jones signing was a bad sign. Like, oh man, does this mean Chris isn't on track? But luckily, from what I've heard, Chris should be on track to at least be back by the beginning of the season sometime. So, yeah, I mean, Santiago, you got any final thoughts on the receiver group at all?
Well, I just, if we signed Julio Jones, yeah, he was a legendary wide receiver, although, when he played in Atlanta, but, he struggled last year in Tennessee with his injuries. And hopefully, he's just, he's not just here to, enjoy the sun and the weather and stuff. I really want him to put, it out there because, when they asked him the question recently about, do you remember the 28 to, he didn't want to hear about it, man. His mentality better be like, you know what? I want to get my ring this year. So, that's pretty much, what I'm hoping, that he can definitely, be a worth, he kind of reminds me of like when we had like a Keyshawn Johnson, when Keyshawn Johnson back in 2002, he did what he could, to get his ring, right? And, he helped us out. Obviously we had legendary, wide receivers back then as well, like Keenan McCardle and stuff. So, but, I'm hoping, man, we can go to the next level with this group of wide receivers.
I'm with you, Santiago. I hope so, too. And if Julio Jones has the same impact that Keyshawn Johnson did on that 2002 season, oh, boy, this team's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, Julio Jones is a crazy talented wide receiver, but it's just health with him. I'm sorry, Zach, I didn't mean to cut you off. You were going to say something about that?
Oh, no, you're good, brother. Yeah, I mean, I was going to just kind of play devil's advocate here because when you look at it, out of his three quarterbacks he's played for, Matt Ryan Tannehill, and now Tom Brady. As much as I like Ryan Tannehill and I respect him as a good quarterback in the league, Matt Ryan and Tom Brady are both above him on my list of quarterbacks. So, I mean, I feel like we kind of expected that dip in production when he went to Tennessee. Also, the fact that had A.J. Brown and their other receiver, I can't think of his name right now, but no, it wasn't Corey Davis. It was Corey Davis with the Jets. But they had a better receiver core than Atlanta did when he was there. So you kind of expect that drop in production. And as good as our receiver core is, I mean, you look at someone like Antonio Brown who came in, and I feel like with Brady throwing him the ball, we might get a chance to see like old Julio again.
Yeah, I certainly hope so, brother, because that would be a sight to behold. I mean, I know as Bucs fans, we've all had to unfortunately experience the wrath of Julio Jones in quite a few games, especially with the Bucs not being super up to par during the prime Julio years.
Yeah,
a lot of painful memories associated with Julio Jones racing down the field. I mean, that kind of closes the book on the wide receiver room, but it opens the book to RBLR Nation. If you're listening, you could buy yourself some sweet merch on RBLR Shop. Use the promo code Cannons for 10% off your order. And check the shop out. We got some great gear, some great stuff to rock when you're supporting your local sports teams, or that be the Rays, Bucks, Lightning, or Rowdies. So check it out. Gotta hit that promo code. For sure. But after that little shameless plug, we'll move on to the tight end position. The tight end position has certainly gotten interesting recently due to the Kyle Rudolph signing. They spent 2 draft picks on the tight end position. And I mean, both of the rookies look really talented, look really interesting. So I just want to hear y'all guys' initial thoughts on the tight end room. Zach, you want to lead it off here?
Yeah, I think that the tight end room is, I don't want to say lacking, but due to just a lack of other words, lacking, I think, is kind of the right word at this point. Cam Brate has never gone over 660 yards. Kyle Rudolph has never gone over. He had one season where he hit 800 yards, and it's just, aside from those guys, like the other guys have no experience. But there is one name that I'm very excited about, and that is Mr. Bug Howard, who just recently got signed to us out of the USFL. I think that he's a red zone threat for days, and he made that very apparent in the USFL. So I think that that's someone we need to keep an eye on.
For sure, I knew you were going to bring up Bug with being that USFL guy, and with a name like Bug Howard as a tight end, I feel like you got to be a red zone threat. I
Yeah,
mean, that's
exactly.
just yeah, exactly. So yeah, I definitely am looking forward to see if Bug can stick on the roster. It'd be really fun to see you love a redemption story, or not even a redemption, but just a comeback story like that, kind of the underdog. He's got some steep odds to make the roster, unfortunately. But man, if he can make a big difference, that would be awesome for the Bucs to give a USFL guy a shot. But Santiago, how are you feeling about the tight end room? You a little more optimistic about it than Zach is?
Well, I mean, obviously, as Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans, we all know who we wanted back. We wanted Mr. Rob Gronkowski back. And that's definitely a piece that, man, he's so talented. He's definitely going to be one day in the Hall of Fame, and you know, he's won all those Super Bowl rings with Brady because, man, he's literally, to me, in my opinion, like the best tight end in the history of the NFL. And but we have some good young bucks there. We have Keefe, we have Cade Otton, which just were recently drafted this past year. Kyle Rudolph, he's an NFL vet. Obviously, we have Cameron Brate, who played with Rob Gronkowski last year, and also got his ring. Yeah, he's you know Cameron Brate. He's not like that elite, like top, in my opinion, um, tight end. He's but sometimes you don't have to be that, to be, on a obviously successful team, and and definitely, the main goal. This is a team sport, so the main goal is to win the Super Bowl. So I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
hopefully he can do everything he can to help the team out. Like obviously Kyle Rudolph, he's a vet, and then both of them, and then maybe Keefe can come in, maybe Cade Otton can come in and produce as well, being rookies, maybe become rookie of the tight end rookies of the year, and win rookie honors and stuff like that. So and then Bug Howard, he played in the USFL. Uh, I read it on Twitter last week that, when he came up, there was a lot of excitement because the USFL, there were like a lot of players and his name was really, really a top one. And, hopefully he can do his thing and like he did in the USFL and bring it up to the NFL, which is the next level for him.
Yeah, so I mean, the tight end room is definitely an interesting position to look at. I really love the rookies that they've brought in. I don't know how y'all are feeling about and Bo Keefe. They're really something to behold. Kyle Rudolph's definitely an interesting vet to look at. Yeah, like you mentioned, Santiago, the tight end room is definitely going to be more of a complementary piece this year. I don't really think that any of us are expecting Kyle Rudolph, Cam Brate, or any of the rookies or Bug Howard to have 1,000 yards receiving by the end of the year. But with all that being said, who do y'all see emerging as kind of the starter? Because right now I feel like it's kind of between Cam Brate and Kyle Rudolph. But maybe y'all feel like one of the rookies will emerge or Bug will emerge. How are y'all feeling about it?
Well, I hope. Honestly, I would like to honestly see Cam Brate. Come on, man. You've been in the league. You've been with us for a long time, and I just want you to get out there and explode. That's really what I want you to do. I want to see how Bug Howard does. He's coming from a league like the USFL because it's once you get out of college and if you're not drafted to an NFL team, where else are you going to go? So I'm glad that there's an opportunity with the USFL and leagues like the XFL as well that are giving players the opportunity to still pursue to be a professional football player. So I want to see Keefe do well, Cade Otton as well. So just bring it on. Hopefully these guys can be that get that beef for coal and turn into a diamond. That's what I want to see. I really do want to see that.
I feel you, man. How about you, Zach? Who do you think is going to emerge as the starting tight end?
I so badly want to say Cam Brate, but it seems like he's had his chance over and over again. And I mean, we had a guy like, Gronk. He came in and sat behind Gronk for the last 2 years. But even when it wasn't Gronk, he was worried about OJ Howard. And OJ Howard, obviously, we just traded him away because I think he was more. Or we didn't trade him away; we let him walk in free agency. But I think that even he was more valuable to Tampa than Cam Brate was when he was here. So it's one of those things. Like, I want to see Brate be that guy. I just don't know that he can be. And with how much Brady loves his tight ends, going back to even the New England days with Gronk and with another guy who we shall not name due to legal reasons, but he's always been a tight end guy, and it's going to be interesting to see if Brate or Rudolph can be that guy. I wouldn't be surprised to see one of those young guys come up and be maybe not the starter, but the most impactful tight end on the roster.
I got you. It sounds like you're kind of dark on Cam, my man. I mean, did Cam do something too? Did he snub you of an autograph or something? No, I'm just messing with you. But I feel you, though. Cam Brate's been in the league for a very long time. He's been with the Bucs for a very long time, and he seems to not have had a huge impact. Like you mentioned, he's always had kind of someone over his shoulder or in front of him, kind of. And it's tough. It's tough. So with all that being said, do you think Kyle Rudolph Rudolph's going to emerge? Like, you think – it's tough. They signed him for a reason. They obviously signed him because maybe they don't think that Cameron Brate is that guy. But, I don't know. How are you feeling about it, Zach? How do you feel about Kyle Rudolph?
I am excited for Kyle Rudolph. Before he went to the Giants, I wanted him to come to Tampa. So I am kind of excited for him. I don't want to look too far into his 1 year with New York because realistically they didn't ask him to do much, and I mean, it's the Giants, so they weren't very good. But with that being said, I think that he has the ability to be that Gronkowski replacement. He'll never fill those shoes, but I think he has the ability to. My only worry with him is that, I mean, he's been in the league for 11 years. On a tight end body, that's a lot of time in the league. So I think my biggest issue with him is health, which he's been throughout his whole career has been healthy overall. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, he only played in 12 games last year. So at 33, 34 years old, that's a lot of time to heal that body.
Yeah, I feel you, man. It feels like injuries kind of play a factor with a lot of these guys, since the Bucs are definitely an older team, especially with the tight end room at the top, with Brayton and Kyle Rudolph. But yeah, like you mentioned, Rudolph had been relatively durable throughout his career with Minnesota, especially. And he'll definitely haunt some Saints fans, because I think I don't know about y'all, but I remember very vividly that overtime loss against the Saints where he caught the red zone touchdown when the Saints were at home. No one beats the Saints in the Superdome, but yeah. So I mean, maybe they bring him out for when they play the Saints in the regular season and maybe in the playoffs too. But I'm definitely excited. Do y'all have any final thoughts on the tight end room at all? Santiago, you want to start us off with the final thought?
My final thought on the tight end, honestly, I don't. I really don't. To be honest with you, I mean, like, we've gave our, to be honestly, our sincere opinion about what we have at the moment, and it's something that we have to, we're gonna deal with through this season. So, just. I want to see the tight ends that we have. I want to see them, just produce and make them, catch the ball, get first downs, and please don't get injured. We don't want no injuries. That's pretty much what my opinion is with that. And then get into the into the red zone and into the end zone, and let's score touchdowns. That's really what I want to see.
All right, hey, fair enough, man. How about you, Zach? You got any final thoughts on the tight end?
Yeah, I think he kind of nailed it on the head. I'm not, too excited about them, but I'm not down on them. I know it probably sounds like I am, but I'm not as low as it probably sounds. I do think that if, trade deadline rolls around, that could be somewhere that is addressed in this in the season. I think right now we're going to roll with this. I would imagine Brate gets a starting spot and we roll with it until trade deadline.
I'm with you. Yeah, I mean, it'll definitely be interesting to see how they play the trade deadline, if there are any tight ends that become available, or maybe they explore free agency a little more if an injury happens, or maybe the rookies just really aren't panning out. You never know with the NFL. So yeah, I mean that really does it for the tight end position. And some more big news with the Bucs in the past week. Unfortunately, we covered it a little bit with the last episode. Was Ryan Jensen going down with a leg injury, and unfortunately, it's looking like he's going to miss at least a couple months. They haven't really released any specifics about it, but they haven't signed anyone yet, which is kind of a sign that they're maybe just going to roll with Robert Hainsey, the second year guy out of Notre Dame, the third round pick. So I just wanted to hear y'all's thoughts on it. I know the center position, you kind of want to get him rolling with the playbook and everything. So if they were going to, move on from Robert Hainsey, I feel like they would have done it right now. So what are y'all's thoughts on it? Santiago, how are you feeling about the center position now that Ryan Jensen's probably going to be shelved for a little bit?
Yeah, my opinion with that about Ryan Jensen, I'm glad it's not, nobody wants to get injured, of course, right? But I'm glad it's not because he's a big man. He's a big guy. And I'm glad that they say it's like a couple months. So he's not going to be out for the season. And it's not like, any ligament damage, like, like MCL or ACL or PCL, any of those. So, that's great. Robert Hainsey, I saw, post game interview with Tom Brady, earlier last week, and they asked him the question, about that. What's his opinion? What's his feelings about that? He's like, you know what, it's hard to see, a player like Ryan go down because he's so dedicated and he's an amazing player. But, Robert Hainsey, he's out there working hard and, he's doing what he can to get better. And at this moment, he knows that he's going to be, at this moment, looks like he's going to be the starter. So, he's just working hard. And I like that. I like that work ethic being put in there to know that, hey, I'm the next guy up. I'm going to bring it, So, but, it's, I want to see when we see Ryan Jensen back, let's say, hopefully, like, November, maybe October, November, that would be great as well. Maybe December. So, if they say it's a couple months. So what do you think, Carter or Zach? What do you guys think?
Zach, I'll let you go first, brother.
Yeah, I think this one is kind of difficult to judge because Hainsey, if I'm not mistaken, was a tackle out of Notre Dame, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think the consensus with Hainsey was that he was kind of more going to be a versatile piece, but yeah, he definitely came out as a tackle. You're absolutely right.
So I think that this is going to be the test week for him. With it just happening, I do think they're going to need to sign somebody, and a guy who I have in mind is Matt Paredes. Paredes. He's a guy he's played a 7-year career. He's only got 12 penalties ever, like in 7 years. Most of those are holding, obviously, but he's a guy who's been healthy for the most part. He played with Carolina last year. Just someone that I think we need to sign a backup, whether Hainsey is starting or not. It wouldn't hurt to have an actual backup center while Jensen is out.
I'm with you, man. Matt Paredes was definitely someone that I looked at as well. Obviously, the hot name has been J.C. Tretter, the former Cleveland Brown, because Tretter just has a little, I don't want to say higher pedigree, but the Browns' offensive line last season was really dominant, especially with Nick Chubb in the backfield. So, he's got all the PFF high grades and everything. But Matt Paredes is definitely a guy that they could look for. He has experience in the NFC South, obviously. Like you mentioned, he played for Carolina for a couple years. So, yeah, like you mentioned, even if it was just in a backup capacity, because, Hainsey's a young guy, and who knows, he could get hurt too. God, hopefully not. But, he could get hurt too, unfortunately. But yeah, what about you, Santiago? You looking at the free agent market at all? You thinking they're going to sign someone?
Yeah, I honestly, I would like to see J.C. Tretter, man. Like, he's been a starter in this league for a very long time. So, he's played 111 games and he's started 90. So, I mean, that's a lot. Robert Hainsey hasn't started any, and he's only, so, I mean, it's really, really tough, for somebody who hasn't had a start in an NFL game. And, we're trying to protect, obviously, our main piece, which is Tom Brady. So, it's tough, but some people have to just step up. That's why they're in this league. They have to, or they can go work somewhere else. I don't know, but you have to be, you can't just you can't just be on the bench the whole time, right? I mean, you have to produce. So, whoever it is, I just want them to do well. That's pretty much what I think. What about you? What about you, Carter? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of see both sides. Hainsey has more familiarity with the playbook. Obviously, he's been here a couple of years. Plus, they didn't spend a third-round pick on him for no reason. They probably want to give him a shot. So, like Zach, like you mentioned, I think you put it really well. This first week is a huge week for him. I think if he performs well, I think if he shows that he's, not here to mess around, I think he could certainly earn the starting position and convince the Bucs not to, maybe go out and sign a free agent. But, yeah, I mean, we'll definitely have to see. The preseason is going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be more interesting than the Bucs would have hoped that it was going to be. I think they would have, they definitely would have preferred to not have to worry about this.
Right.
Which, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, do y'all have any closing thoughts on the center position? I know we've kind of discussed it ad nauseum for the past couple of weeks because Ryan Jensen went down and he's such a key piece. But Santiago, you got any final center position?
I wanna see, if it's Robert Hainsey, like I said before, and I'll repeat it again. Like, I want him to step up. Definitely, man. You have to be. It's not just with the Bucs. I mean, if you're going to be out in the market for another team to pick you up, let's say that your future's not with the Bucs for the long run. You have to have games under your belt so the teams can come and say, "Yep, I want him." Just like J.C. Treader. He's out in the free. He's a free agent right now. So, but I want to see Ryan Jensen have a speedy recovery, and come on, Ryan, let's go, get better.
I'm with you, man. I hope Ryan Jensen gets better real soon as well, because he certainly is going to be missed on that offensive line as the enforcer of the group, and just one of the best centers in the NFL, probably the best if we're being completely honest. But Zach, how about you? You got any closing thoughts on the center position?
Yeah, I think you said it kind of best when you said he's the enforcer. He is a guy who has kind of been that dog on the offensive line, and he's just we need that attitude. I think the way Tampa plays, we need that attitude, and I think we're going to need to replace that, and hopefully it's Hainsey. I would love to see him step up and play that role, because you're right, a third-round pick, you don't pick that for nothing. He's expected to be on the team and make plays. So, with all that said, I think that he's going to get the spot, and I think that he's going to be our guy.
Yeah, I'm starting to come around on the Robert Hainsey train. I'm not going to lie. I was a little skeptical at first. I was a little down on him in last week's episode. But, if Robert Hainsey, if you're listening, please subscribe. And also, I'm sorry. I hope you do a great job, and I'm sure he will. But anyways, to wrap it up, I couldn't wrap it up without thanking the listeners. Thank you to all of our listeners. We obviously wouldn't be here without y'all. Wherever you're listening, if you wouldn't mind, like I mentioned, hitting that subscribe button, hitting that like button, wherever you're listening to us. And thank you so much again for listening. And Zach, thank you for joining us here on RBLR Bucs. It was a pleasure having you, my brother. And thank y'all so much. Hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your day or evening or what have you. And we'll see you real soon.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.